When we think of American car culture, few images are as iconic as the muscle car. Defined by their raw power, bold styling, and affordable performance, these cars became the symbol of rebellion, freedom, and the open road. But how did this phenomenon come to be? To understand the birth of muscle cars, we must journey back to the 1960s, a time when the automotive industry was booming, and a new generation of drivers were eager for speed and excitement. The seeds of the muscle car were planted in the late 1940s. The Second World War had turned soldiers into mechanics, and back home, America's highways demanded cars that could cruise comfortably at higher speeds. Then came the 1949 Oldsmobile Rocket 88. It was a mid-size family car packed with a 135 horsepower V8, a considerable amount for 1949, and it quickly became the darling of drag racers and moonshine runners everywhere. But the Rocket 88 wasn't just powerful, it was accessible. For the first time, regular people could experience a high-performance engine without selling their house. And while the Rocket 88 wasn't officially a muscle car, it lit the spark. And like any good American idea, it didn't take long for someone to take it to ridiculous extremes. In 1964, Pontiac unleashed the GTO, which technically stood for Gran Turismo Omologato, an Italian phrase borrowed from Ferrari that means homologated for grand touring. But there was nothing sophisticated or Italian about this GTO. It was a mid-size car with a big secret under the bonnet, a 389 cubic inch V8 engine producing up to 348 horsepower. Developed under the guidance of John DeLorean, yes, that same DeLorean, the GTO was marketed as an optional package for the Pontiac Tempest, skirting General Motors' corporate restrictions on engine sizes in smaller cars. Aside from its impressive power output, it was also affordable and stylish. Pontiac's clever marketing, including the use of catchy slogans like, "The Tiger is loose," and featuring the car in drag races led to booming sales, and suddenly, every other manufacturer in Detroit thought, "Hang on, we want some of that." By the mid-1960s, every major American automaker had a muscle car offering. The Ford Mustang, introduced in 1964 and a half, while technically a pony car, had an optional Hypo V8 engine that blurred the lines and made it a staple of muscle car culture. The Chevrolet Chevelle SS, released in 1965 with its 396 cubic inch engine, offered serious muscle in a clean, no-nonsense package. Then there was the Dodge Charger, debuting in 1966, with a sleek fastback design combined with Dodge's potent Hemi engines, making it an instant classic. And let's not forget the Plymouth Roadrunner from 1968, designed for the budget-conscious enthusiast, offering simple styling with massive horsepower. These vehicles embodied the rebellious spirit of the 1960s, and by the end of the decade, muscle cars were everywhere, from drag strips to suburban driveways. Hollywood got in on the action too. Steve McQueen turned the Ford Mustang GT into a star in Bullitt, and car chases became a staple of American cinema. These were cars for the everyman, priced so that anyone with a bit of ambition could own one. Sadly, all good things come to an end, and for the muscle car, that end came in the 1970s. Rising insurance premiums, stricter emissions regulations, and the oil crisis of 1973 all conspired to kill off the big V8s. By the time the dust settled, the muscle car was a shell of its former self. The once proud GTO was now a bloated shadow of its glory days. Cars like the Pontiac Trans Am and Dodge Challenger soldiered on, but the golden age had passed. But here's the thing, muscle cars never really died. Today, the Dodge Challenger Hellcat has over 800 horsepower, and Ford's Mustang Shelby GT 500 still looks as mean as ever. Sure, the modern muscle car is faster, smarter, and more refined than its ancestors, but it still carries the same spirit.